to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. In Isaiah chapter 11 verse 6 and in Revelation chapter 21 verse 4, will the animal kingdom and humans too be vegans? Now, what's interesting about these two references is they're actually dealing with two completely different time constructs. In Isaiah chapter 11, it's that famous passage that the wolf will lie down with the lamb. It's actually in a reference to what we commonly refer to as the millennium, not just described in Isaiah 11, but also in Revelation chapter 20 verses 1 through 6. That 1,000-year reign of Christ. When we get to Revelation chapter 21 verse 4, it talks about a new heaven, a new earth, and a new way of quote-unquote doing things. Now, those are two separate passages about two separate things. The concept of being a vegan is actually different than a quote-unquote vegetarian or one who does not eat meat. A vegan is somebody who does not eat even byproducts of. For example, you would not eat an egg as a vegan because it comes from a chicken. Obviously, a vegetarian would cease from eating chicken meat. A vegan would cease even from the egg itself. Now, the reason this is all important is we see in the construct of the millennium and also in the new heaven, the new earth, the new Jerusalem, there is no animals eating one another. And I think really the important question isn't, are we vegans? Are we vegetarians? How's all the dietary laws going to work? I think what's important is that animals that naturally consumed each other, i.e. the wolf and the lamb, and by the way, that passage goes on to talk about that a child will play with an asp and or a snake. There's no longer animosity. There's no longer tension. There's no longer shall we say, that kingdom of fight among species for who will reign and who will be in charge and who will eat whom. There is an existence of synergy among humanity and the animal kingdom and at the same time. So again, is it a vegetarian society? Quite possibly. In fact, if you look in the scriptures prior to Genesis chapter 6 and the Noahic flood, there is no evidence of humanity consuming what you and I would know as animal meat. Now, doesn't mean it did not exist. It's just never mentioned and or specifically addressed. You have these other passages that would lead us to think that maybe that is not a necessary item. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In Revelation chapter 22, when we get to that new heaven, new earth, new Jerusalem, it speaks about eating the fruit of the tree of life. Isn't that what Adam and Eve were commissioned to eat in the garden in Genesis chapter 3? It was a fruit, obviously not a quote meat product. As I end this very short video, I know this is a very politically tension-filled question regarding vegetarian, etc. Let me remind you of two things. In the book of Acts chapter 10, the Lord himself told whom we know as the Apostle Peter not to call unclean what he called clean. Rise up, kill, and eat. In fact, 1 Timothy chapter 4 says in the last days as we approach the second coming, there will be doctrines of devils that tell us we cannot eat meat. That being said, we are free, even as believers in Jesus Christ, to consume if we so choose in this age. What's important is once in the millennium and once when we get to the new heaven, the new earth, the new Jerusalem, there will not be a need to sustain a sin-laden bodied soul to preserve one's life. We will have the life of Christ Jesus in the new bodies that he has reserved for us. So again, not only is there a lack of the tension, there's no need for the provision of the protein which it provides. Great question. If you have one, send it to askjeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at askjeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.